Welcome to your November 2021 horoscope. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering the major transits for the month ahead using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. I strongly recommend that you watch your horoscope for your ascendant sign first and foremost because it will be the most accurate for you overall. Having said that, if you've got time to watch your sun and moon sign horoscopes as well, go for it because the sun sign horoscope will tell you more about your life goals and your career, whereas the moon sign horoscope will pertain more to your living circumstances and your family life. Now, I've got an exciting announcement to make. I am putting together 2022 horoscopes for all 12 zodiac signs. So these horoscopes will be super in-depth and you'll be able to purchase yours on sale if you buy during November or in the first 2 weeks of December. So these will retail for $16.99 US, but you'll be able to purchase yours on sale during that period of time for just $12.99. So please make sure you are subscribed to the channel and checking the website regularly because there will be an announcement once these are available for sale. And now let's dive into the November horoscopes. Hi Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your November 2021 horoscope. Before I get into your reading today, I'm going to do something a little bit different and pull an animal spirit totem card just to see what energies are going to be with you Scorpios for the month of November, which is your season, by the way, Scorpio season. Okay, we've got the spider. Interesting. The spider is one of Scorpio's 7 symbols in astrology. Not everyone knows this, but Scorpios are not just represented by the scorpion. They are also linked to the spider, the lizard, the serpent, the eagle or the dove, the wolf, and the phoenix. So these symbols are very important to Scorpio because they represent the transformation that you are going through. Now, with spiders, they're obviously very creative beings because they have these beautiful webs that they spin. Now, another way that we can interpret this is a note to be careful not to get caught up in other people's web. Don't get caught up in the drama, Scorpio. And now let's get into your reading. On the 30th of October, your ruling planet Mars entered the sign of Scorpio, and it will be transiting Scorpio, which is your first house, for about 7 weeks. So the whole of November, you are going to be feeling very energized. You're going to have a lot of responsibilities and duties to take care of, but you will be feeling like you've got more energy than you've had in a very long time. We're also, of course, seeing the sun transiting Scorpio because it is your season. So the fact that we've got Mars, the sun, and then on the 7th of November, Mercury joining Scorpio, this just shows that there's so many different directions that you are going to be pulled in for this month. So you're going to have your finger in a lot of different pies and you may have to basically resolve some kind of conflict, or you may be looking at going in a different direction in terms of your work altogether. And I say this because Mars rules over your 6th house, which represents your work environment. The 6th house also represents conflicts. So Mars, the Sun and Mercury all together in your first house shows that you will have incredible problem-solving abilities for pretty much the whole month. Now, on a different level, you may just have a lot of very difficult decisions that you need to make. And I say that because Mercury represents making decisions and Mars represents taking action. So if you've been working on something basically in the background or on the down low for the last 7 weeks, as indicated by Mars transiting your 12th house, you may feel like you're ready to bring this out to the forefront and show it off to the world. Now, you may have a goal that you want to achieve in terms of your physical transformation. Maybe this is a weight loss goal. Maybe you're going to just be working out a lot during the month of November. In any case, this is a great time for you to take very calculated risks as long as you're doing the research. Now, on the 4th or 5th of November, depending where you live in the world, there will be a new moon in Scorpio in your first house. It will be at 12 degrees and it will be conjunct your ruling planet Mars. I did a bit of research to see when the last time was that we saw Mars in the sign of Scorpio during Scorpio season. Other than 2019, where this occurred for only 3 days, the last time was 2006. So this is a great time for you to totally course correct. Maybe you are wanting to set some kind of goal for yourself. This could be a personal goal. This could be about a physical transformation. This could be about you starting some kind of new job or transitioning into a new industry in the workplace. This could be a health-related goal. Now, this new goal that you are setting for yourself could be at the expense of what your family wants for you in a more traditional sense. And I say that because this new moon in Scorpio will be squaring Saturn in Aquarius in your 4th house of home and family life. Now, this could see you simply relocating from a city that you are really comfortable in or from a home that you've lived in for a very long time. And this could basically be a stretch goal for you. It doesn't necessarily need to be that you're disappointing family members. Maybe you just feel like for your own personal growth and expansion, you need to try living in another town, or basically not relying on your family so much as a support system. Now, when it comes to your personal and physical transformation, I'm just going to bring it back to the spider. So with Scorpio having 7 symbols, this indicates that Scorpio is the sign which has the most profound ability to transform again and again and again. So whether you're a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, you may notice that every few years your life just totally shakes up and you become unrecognizable to yourself or to others. This can be with regard to your physical appearance, where you're living, what you're doing for work. And on the most extreme scale, we can see this playing out as someone who experienced homelessness or someone who experienced being an addict, completely turning their life around. I'm not passing judgment or saying that there's anything wrong with being at that stage of your life. I'm merely outlining that Scorpios, more than all the other signs in the zodiac, have the biggest potential when it comes to transforming beyond everyone's wildest dreams and expectations, least of all your own. So with this new moon occurring in your 1st house, you may have a swift exit from a relationship or from some kind of partnership that you were in. And I'm saying this because the new moon in Scorpio is opposing Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. Now, you don't necessarily need to be ending a romantic relationship or a friendship or a client relationship. This could just see you basically saying, I don't need to fulfill this obligation anymore. If you made a promise to someone, or even if you made a vow to yourself, this could even be that you would never get in another relationship again. This new moon conjunct Mars, which represents doing something new, and opposing Uranus, which represents breaking things or divorcing things, basically shows that you are now liberated from some kind of promise or obligation that you either made to another person or that you felt that you needed to carry out. Now, on the 10th of November, Mercury and Mars will form an exact conjunction in Scorpio in your 1st house. Your sign, Scorpio, is activated more than any other sign for the whole month of November. So this really is going to be a profound month of change, but also a rejuvenation period for you. Now, as I'm saying this, I just realized that I don't think I named the 7th symbol for Scorpio, and it's actually the phoenix, which of course is a mythical creature. So this is all about destroying something and burning it to the ground and then rising from the ashes. So that really is the theme for you for the whole of November. So with this conjunction between Mercury and your ruling planet Mars in your 1st house, this can see you doing some extremely deep research. And that is because Mercury rules over the 8th house, which represents doing deep research. And Mercury itself is connected to education and gathering data and facts. So you may be researching things like astrology, or you may be looking into cryptocurrencies. You may be doing some research into what kind of legacy you want to leave behind. The reason I'm referencing these things in particular is because Mercury rules over your 11th house, which represents things like astrology and cryptos and, any interconnected system without a centralized form of power. Now, this can see you simply learning more about yourself, and that is because Mars effectively represents you and what you're doing. So you may be looking into esoteric topics or occult practices. You may be studying psychology. And I'm saying this because Mercury rules over the 8th house, which represents anything which is esoteric, spiritual, or even taboo in nature. So if you have any sort of hang-ups or blockages when it comes to your sexual life or your emotional intimacy and your ability to be vulnerable in these emotionally intimate relationships, you can have major breakthroughs basically for the whole month of November, but especially around this time. Mercury represents engaging the services of another person. So perhaps you are engaging someone's services for financial planning needs, or you're seeing a psychologist, maybe you're seeing an astrologer or a tarot reader, or perhaps you are speaking to someone about drawing up a will, or maybe you're getting advice on some kind of inheritance that you are expecting to receive. Now, the 8th house is connected to surgery, as is the sign of Mars, because it rules over sharp instruments and tools. So you may be educating yourself about health, which is also indicated by the fact that Mars rules over your 6th house of health. Maybe you're reading up on an elective surgery that you want to take. The reason I'm speaking about surgeries in an elective manner is because Mars and Mercury are in your 1st house. So this represents the decisions that you are making. This represents the action that you are taking. So if there's something that you have wanted to do for a long time or that you've been considering doing, this is a great time for you to do your research, get your ducks in a row, and if you feel comfortable, you can actually make the call to set up the appointment. I'm not a health practitioner or a doctor or in the medical industry at all. So, please just know that this is a disclaimer. This is just a general reading. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, lastly, with this conjunction with Mercury and Mars, you may be having a very difficult conversation with a friend or an older sibling. And I'm saying this because Mercury represents communications and Mercury rules over your 11th house, which represents older siblings and friends and essentially people in your wider network. Now, this could be in relation to some kind of secret that you've heard or rumor or gossip, and maybe you're just wanting to get to the bottom of things. Now, the 14th of November, Mercury in Scorpio in your 1st house will oppose Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. 4 days later, on the 18th of November, Mars in Scorpio in your 1st house will make that exact same opposition to Uranus in your 7th house. So essentially we can bookend this to around the 12th or the 13th of November through till around the 19th or 20th of November of basically you just having to straighten out a number of relationships or conflicts that you're experiencing in said relationships. So Uranus in your 7th house represents something occurring in a one-on-one partnership or relationship, whether this is romantic, a friendship, something to do with a business partner, or perhaps with a family member. Either way, it indicates that a compromise needs to be reached. Mercury and Mars in the sign of Scorpio represent wanting to hold on to information and keep it a secret and not share it with anyone else. And that's also backed up by the fact that Mercury rules over your 8th house of secrecy. Now, Uranus in astrology represents truth. So this transit, or these two transits, are heavily indicating that you need to come clean about something. Now, I'm not saying that you've done anything wrong. This could just be the fact that you've been holding a grudge, or maybe you've got something that you don't feel comfortable sharing, but the fact that you're keeping this a secret in one or more of these relationships, It's like leading to some kind of discord or tension. Now, chances are, with Uranus being in your 7th house of partnerships, that this other individual either knows what it is that you don't really want to say out loud, or they have an inkling. Maybe they've had some kind of download of information. Maybe someone has shared a tidbit of information and now they're sort of like poking you and prodding you and trying to, get you to come clean, and they're really just giving you this opportunity to lay it all out on the table. Essentially, oppositions represent some kind of seesaw in a relationship or in some kind of situation. Of course, because this involves your 1st house, which is you, and your 7th house, which is them, this is occurring within these relationships. So if you don't tell the other person what you need, or if you don't make some kind of compromise or concession in this relationship, we're going to go from a win-win to a lose-lose. You will need to give something up, whether this is giving a little bit in the relationship, especially if you're in some kind of negotiation process, or like I said, divulging some kind of information which you would really rather keep secret. Now, going back to the negotiation thing, you may be trying to close a deal as represented by the 7th house, and this could be in relation to a property matter. And I say that because Uranus rules over your 4th house of property and living circumstances. Now, if this is a conflict involving you and a family member, this could be about a long-standing grudge, which I mentioned, or it could actually be about money and finances, and your mutual resources as represented by the sign of Scorpio itself. Now, lastly for the month, on the 19th of November, there will be a full moon lunar eclipse at 27 degrees in Taurus in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships. Full moon eclipses are essentially like full moons but on steroids, and that means that they are extremely powerful. So they represent the end of a situation or some kind of climax taking place. Essentially, it's about doing away with the old to pave way for the new. So with this full moon eclipse in Taurus, we want to look at what Venus is doing, because Venus is the planet which rules over the eclipse, because it rules Taurus. Venus is in Capricorn in your 3rd house, and it is making an exact trine to Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. So this shows that you are able to have a clean break from a relationship, or you're able to successfully fulfill some kind of contractual partnership or relationship. So with this eclipse taking place in your 7th house, this can mark the swift or abrupt end of a relationship. Now, this could be with a romantic partner. Maybe you have felt like you had to stay in this relationship because it was providing you some form of security or stability, but now you're realizing that you're better off without this person. Something to bear in mind is that the moon in Taurus will actually be trining Pluto in Capricorn in your 3rd house. So this represents that you can basically see the death, or the proverbial death, I should say, of this relationship or of this contract. Or perhaps you are renewing something. Maybe you're renewing a contract. Maybe you're putting something to bed. Maybe you're renewing your vows. I know this can sound a little bit contradictory. Am I ending this relationship, or am I, starting it anew? The answer is either or. This is a general reading, so it really depends on your personal set of circumstances. But let me put it this way. If your relationship no longer serves you, whether this is with a romantic partner, a friendship, a business partner, or a client, or whoever, then you can totally put it to bed and you don't have to worry about this anymore. You can make a swift exit from this relationship because of this trine from Venus, which is the ruler of the eclipse, to Uranus in your 7th house. This represents coming out unscathed and, basically doing so without the knowledge of the other person. So maybe you're looking at ending some kind of contractual relationship or relationship, and you don't want to make the other person aware of it just yet. Now, on the other hand, if you have been in a relationship, romantic or otherwise, And the current set of circumstances are untenable in that you cannot possibly keep going living like this, and with the conditions of the relationship or relationships being as they are, then you can totally switch the dynamics around. And that's because the moon in Taurus in your 7th house is making this trine to Pluto in your 3rd house. Pluto represents the death of something. So this is the old way that the relationship was functioning, effectively dying, and then Pluto represents the rebirth of this relationship. And especially given that Pluto is your other ruling planet, you know, this eclipse will have a very profound impact upon you, Scorpios. Now, another way that this can play out is that if a relationship, romantic or platonic or a friendship or whatever, ended a very long time ago, but you felt very emotionally disturbed by it, or if there was a lot of damage done to you emotionally or psychologically, or God forbid, even physically, this eclipse can see you actually healing from that experience and putting it not behind you. Of course, we can't ever forget these kinds of experiences, but it's almost like you're able to properly lay this to rest, and now you're ready for a new relationship to enter your life. So this would apply to people who've been hurt by a former partner, a former lover, a former friend, and who have felt scared to let someone in and to be vulnerable once again. So again, I'm coming back to the spider, and this is sort of like you guys are recreating the web and you're redefining what it is that you want to see in these partnerships or in these connections, in these relationships. Now, the only difficult aspect that I can see with this particular eclipse is that the moon will be squaring Jupiter in Aquarius in your 4th house. Now, the moon is a loving, caring planet, and Jupiter represents healing and forgiveness and knowledge and wisdom. So when these two planets are in aspect to one another, they can't really hurt each other because we don't have malefics involved here. So the way that this transit can play out, or the way that this aspect can play out, is that now that you feel emotionally revitalized, maybe you're just feeling extremely overwhelmed by the sense of freedom that you have. Maybe you feel like this is a blessing which is too good to be true, and you don't even know which direction to go in next. Maybe you don't know what to do with this newfound sense of freedom. But I just want to reiterate that this eclipse will have an overwhelmingly positive impact on you, because relationships are going to be renewed or put to rest, and whatever the outcome is, this will be in service of you and your highest good. And so, Scorpio, that's all I have for you for November 2021. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead, and see you next time.